When we talk about money, we always seem to focus on the technical stuff, right? Interest rates, market forecasts, these super complex spreadsheets. But what if the real secret to getting wealthy has nothing to do with what you know, but everything to do with how you act? What if I told you that being good with money is less about how smart you are and more about how you behave? To really get what I mean, let's start with a little puzzle. Who do you think is better with money? A janitor or a Wall Street executive? Now, I know the obvious answer seems, well, obvious, but the real story here is probably going to surprise you, and it unlocks maybe the single most important lesson in all of finance. So, let's dive into this tale of two fortunes. These are two real-life stories that prove this whole idea in the most dramatic way you can imagine. Okay, so on one side, we've got Ronald Reed, a janitor. He quietly saved the little bits he could, invested in big, stable companies, and then he just waited. Decades went by. He died with an $8 million fortune. Then on the other side, you've got Richard Fuscone, Harvard MBA, top finance exec at Merrill Lynch. He borrowed huge amounts of money to fund this incredibly lavish lifestyle. I'm talking a house with a $90,000 a month upkeep. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, boom, he was completely wiped out. Same world, totally opposite results. So what does this tell us? Well, it's that the janitor's patience and humility completely crushed the executive's brilliance and greed. And this gets to the absolute core idea of the book. Financial success is not a hard science like physics or chemistry. It's a soft skill. And how you behave with your money is so much more important than your spreadsheets or your fancy degree. Now, it's really easy to look at a story like that and just think, wow, that executive was just crazy with his money. But here's where it gets really interesting. The author argues that when it comes to money, no one is crazy. This slide right here just captures such a powerful idea. I mean, look at these numbers. Your personal experience with money is this tiny, microscopic fraction of everything that's ever happened in the financial world. And yet it makes up maybe 80% of how you think the world works. Just think about that. If your parents lost everything in a market crash, you're going to view stocks completely differently than some kid who grew up in Silicon Valley and only ever saw the market go up. We're all playing a different game with a completely different set of rules that we've made up in our heads. And that's the whole point. No one is actually crazy. We are all just making what we believe are perfectly rational decisions, but they're filtered through our own unique and honestly very limited experience. What looks like a bonkers financial decision to me might make perfect sense to you, all because of your life story. I mean, think about it for a second. The decade you were born, the country you grew up in, how your parents talked about money. All of these things create this unique lens that you see your finances through, and it totally explains why we all act so differently with our money. Okay, so understanding our own personal brand of crazy leads us to another really critical point, and it's this. The skills that help you get rich are often the total opposite of the skills that help you stay rich. Getting wealthy, that usually takes risk. Optimism, a big bet on yourself, you've got to put yourself out there. But staying wealthy, oh, that is a whole different ballgame. That requires humility, a little bit of fear, a healthy dose of paranoia, and just the discipline to protect what you've built, no matter what. Warren Buffett tells this great story about one of his early partners, a guy named Rick Guerin. As Buffett says, Rick was just as smart as us, but he was in a hurry. See, he used leverage, borrowed money, to try and get rich faster. But when the market took a nosedive in the 70s, which it always does eventually, he was forced to sell everything, including his shares back to Buffett for practically nothing. He was just as brilliant as Buffett, but his impatience completely knocked him out of the game for good. And that story just perfectly illustrates this point. The single most important financial skill isn't about getting the absolute highest returns. It's about survival. It's about staying in the game. You want to be financially unbreakable so you can stick around long enough for the real magic to actually happen. So why is sticking around for the long haul so important? Because it unlocks the most powerful and honestly the most counterintuitive force in all of finance: compounding. All right, take a look at this number, $81.5 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. What on earth could that possibly represent? Well, that is the amount of Warren Buffett's massive fortune that he earned after his 65th birthday. Just think about that. Almost all of his wealth came after he was eligible for Social Security. His real secret isn't just that he's a great investor, it's that he's been a great investor for over 75 years. That is the explosive, mind-bending power of time. So this brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. If you actually succeed at this whole money game, what's the point? What's the ultimate prize? What is the single greatest thing that money can buy you? It's not a bigger house, it's not a faster car, it's freedom. It's the ability to wake up every single morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. As the slide says, controlling your time, that is the highest dividend money will ever pay you. But so many of us get this backwards. We fall for what the author calls the man in the car paradox. Think about it. When you see a Ferrari drive by, you don't really think, wow, the guy driving that car must be so cool. No, you think, wow, if I had that car, people would think I'm cool. We use stuff to try and signal to other people that they should admire us, but ironically, it just makes them think about themselves. And this perfectly sums up the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Being rich is visible. It's the nice car, the big house, the high salary. But true wealth? Wealth is hidden. It's the nice cars you didn't buy. It's the money you haven't spent. It's the assets in your account that grant you options, flexibility, and that ultimate prize, control over your own life. So as we wrap this up, the psychology of money really leaves us with one last powerful question to ask ourselves. And it's this. Take a look at your own financial goals. Are you building wealth just to buy more stuff? Or are you building it to buy back your single most valuable asset, your time and your freedom?